I promised I would play a little bit of Logan on Penix as we were talking about Michael Penix in the last segment. Then I will pay off the tease, if you will, on what Colin Cowherd is hearing and what he had to say about what he's hearing for Washington and who they are favoring as of today at the second overall pick. But we were talking about experience and why that is a positive in some cases, and also when you've got certain flaws in your game, it can kind of be a negative. It's like, wait, he's played that much and he hasn't figured this thing out. And so I kind of pressed Logan on Penix when we talked this morning on Take Command, because that Texas game, that was incredible. And he showed he can do everything. But
when you watch that Texas game, I think, like you said, like there's a lot of really good stuff there. And I don't think we should diminish Penix's career because it was very good throughout. You know, I mean, that's one game that was a big stage for him. But I mean, he threw for over 4,000 yards. Like, dude is a really good football player.
Yeah.
I think the thing about the Texas game is while you see kind of the best version of him, just Michael Penix as an example, right? While you see the best version of him, you also see the issues that I have with him, right? Kind of this. Like, it's not a super smooth movement in the pocket. Like, he's missing throws he probably should hit just because he's not good with his fundamentals and his feet. Like, he hits a lot of throws and he does some dramatic stuff. His arms live. Like, that's also there. But there's still underlying all the problems that you see with him. So even at his best, he's going to have some of these issues, which are going to lead to some inaccuracies, right? It's kind of some of the same things we got going on with Drake May, right? It's like the technical foundation that you're throwing the football from and the technical foundation you're playing the position with are going to lead to some misses. Now, can you get that cleaned up? And I think people would look to that game and say, yes, because he played a pretty clean game that game and it was pretty on. But I just think that's the important thing is like, yeah, the ceiling's important. But and I think this is where you see coaches and scouts kind of get on different pages a little bit because coaches, like, it's interesting. Like, I was talking to one of my coaching friends a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "This is my top 5 O linemen," and that it would shock you, quite frankly, if like it was people that like you're like, "What? That guy's your number one guy?" And he's like the 5th or 6th guy on public boards, and you're like, "Wow, okay." But I get it because they believe that player is more likely to get there because of the interview process, because of the tenacity, because of the toughness. And I think that's where you see coaches as they get into the process, which is, you know, last week, the week prior, maybe the last 3 weeks, they value different stuff than scouts.
And so that, I think, is where the difference is. And for a guy like Penix is, it's not even about the tenacity and whatever. Like, that dude's competitive as hell. And we've seen that. But when you're older and you haven't changed it yet, I think as a coach, I'm less likely to be like, I can change it in that guy because he's had the opportunities to change and he hasn't, versus a younger player that hasn't had those opportunities and thus hasn't really had the chance to change in the ways that people want to see.
Yeah, and I also just think if experts, you know, were so in awe with Michael Penix, and of course, you know, he's had an exceptional college career, I just think, you know, the things that we're looking out for, I think they would have jumped out to us a little bit more, and we would have been, you know, a little bit more definitive in our you know, I wouldn't say expert evaluation of it, but in our evaluation of Michael Penix and what he's done so far. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily strongly consider him being our guy for the number 2 spot.
No,
I'm glad Linnell doesn't want to, you know, take him off the board or take.
Yeah, you should look at him. You should be ready, because if someone offers something stupid, then okay.
But I just don't.
And you should understand what it would take to win with him. If you do want to trade back and go that route. But I think you'd probably just rather stick and stay at number 2, which is certainly what Colin Cowherd is hearing. This was Colin on his show yesterday, that he's hearing something a little more definitive than a lot of other people, and the reason why when it comes to the Commanders.
All right, I've been told the Washington Commanders right now, as of today, would choose Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback, as their top pick. Been going back and forth. I'm told they believe he's more consistent than Drake May. He is quicker, more mobile than Drake May. An offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, who will have some say in this, has had multiple quarterbacks in his college and pro coaching career that play like him. Quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels are important. They're very hypermobile, right? And that matters a lot. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, as you're trying to figure out the sophisticated NFL pocket and all it asks, it gives you a couple of years to pick up first downs and move the sticks with your feet. Even Patrick Mahomes acknowledged the light didn't truly go on until year 3. But the ability to move, Washington's got a bad offensive line, pick up first downs with those feet as you're learning the game is important.
Yes. And this, I think, comes down to one of the fundamental questions that we're trying to answer. And I think that I've presented as options for the Commanders and for people to think about and consider is how much does year 1 matter for you? Because if year 1 matters, Jayden Daniels is probably your guy because he can do those things. And I think the other thing, too, is when we talk about the ability to get to your ceiling, being like Lamar Jackson is a much better passer now than he was when he entered the league. He was probably better than some people gave him credit for. Certainly, like the Bill Polians of the world who were like, you should switch positions, is better than that. But his ability to run bought him time because it's like, hey, we can win right now, and you get to play, and you get the experience of playing without the experience of playing when you're not ready because you're ready to do something, even if it's not what your maximalist ceiling is. And so I think that is one of the perks with Jayden Daniels. And I think one of the things that's really interesting with him, too, is there stuff that you want to see him improve on? Absolutely. But it's the kind of thing that with more experience, he can potentially improve on. And he has the work ethic that gets people really excited that he could potentially do it. So I don't know that anyone's talking to Colin or Breer or Schefter or anybody that claims to have a clue. And I do think that there's, again, this kind of misnomer about who Jayden is as an athlete. He's not like his mobility is different than Russ and Kyler and some of the guys that Colin mentioned because those guys are more likely to get out of the pocket and throw on the run and make plays in that way. But as a scrambler, as someone who can pick up first downs with their legs, no doubt that he's the top guy. That's pretty easy and straightforward. So I do kind of wonder how much validity there is there. I would think there would be quite a bit. Obviously, courtesy of Colin Cowherd and his show on Fox and Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.